Hello team, it's your boy Owen Does F1 back for another race review, this time for Austria. Now this was a bit late, didn't have too much time after the last race before heading off to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, but I'm back now, I'm here nonetheless. Um, Now this was a weird race, I didn't find it particularly interesting, but the order was a bit mixed up after a lot of penalties and a lot of track limit violations, so let's jump right into it. So obviously this was a sprint weekend, so there was two different qualifying sessions. I did like the change to the format they made this time round, where they said in Q3 for the sprint shootout you didn't need to use a new set of soft tyres. So we saw in Baku, so I think it was Lando Norris made it to Q3, but he had no fresh sets of softs left, so he couldn't run. You were now allowed to use an unfresh set of softs as well, although that was then made redundant by the track being a bit damp and them just saying use whatever tyres you want. I'm going to talk about both qualifying sessions in one here. So we saw Ferrari had made a lot of improvements and it looked like it was going to be quite a good track for them. Then McLaren, they had upgrades just on Lando's car and they were working really well for him. Perez had two very different sessions, being out early again in qualifying for the main race, but back up to P2 where he should be every race in the sprint shootout. Hulkenberg was exceptional, getting it into P4 for the sprint race, and we saw Mercedes blundering with Hamilton out in Q1, and then George unable to take part in Q2. All that meant we had a different grid for both races, and it's going to be exciting to see which teams could move forward in which race. So then on Saturday we had the sprint race. I was actually out during the day, so I was watching this on my phone. Didn't have much sound, so I've watched the highlights back, but might have been some bits of info I missed. But we saw it was a really spicy start between the two Red Bulls, with Perez pushing Max off track on the straight, and Max was not having any of it, pushing in really wide into turn 2, or technically turn 3. And then Hulkenberg was able to use that to jump up into P2, and then a great strategy call from the Haas team to switch to the dry tyres at the right time kept him in P6 to hold on to 3 points. Somehow we saw Max go on to win a 24 lap race by 21 seconds, which was pretty crazy. But in general, a few drivers made the right call to get onto the dry tyres earlier, but we didn't really have any surprising results other than Hulkenberg managing to cling on to P6. So next up we had the race, and it looks like we might have got quite a close race after Ferrari boxed early under the VSC. However, it ended up being another comfortable win for Verstappen, although he did box right at the end to take fastest lap. The team didn't want to risk it, but he overruled them and he did get the fastest lap for that extra point. There's a great drive from Lando as well for P4. McLaren with showing that upgrade on Lando's car has really good race pace, and I wonder if it will carry through to Silverstone. But the issue I had with this race was all of the post-race penalties. After sitting there and watching the race for an hour and a bit, or however long it lasted, it was the results just all changed about an hour later. So felt kind of pointless watching the race for the results to change after. But then again, I don't really know what else you can do about it. So just a shame that the race ended that way. Next up, we got the driver ratings. Now, there wasn't really many memorable performances from this weekend. It's easy to put Max in S, just dominating all weekend. A lot of drivers seem to have a bad performance in some sessions, but making up for it in others. For example, Checo going P15 to P3, and having P2 in the sprint. So, yeah, let me know if there's any of these that you disagree with, any that you think should be moved around. Okay guys, that's all from me. Next up will be the Silverstone race review, and I'll put some extra clips in of my attendance there. I had a really good weekend, so looking forward to making that video. And then we've got the Hungarian Grand Prix next weekend. So have a good week everyone. Goodbye.